Now we're ready to test the complete iPhone app that we've made called My World, which now not only has a main view with falling words, but also a second photo view with a falling image. Now, there's one thing we still need to do before we actually test the app. As you recall, back at the viewDidLoad method in our photoviewcontroller.m file, we added these statements, including the self-view background color, which set the background color of the second view. We also set the photo timer to be 0.2 of a second, and we set the falling image to start off with an image named fallingimage.png. This is the default image that we start with before the user has a chance to pick an image with the image picker. Now, if this were a commercial app, you'd probably want this image to be the corporate logo or something very much a default image. In our case, any graphic image will do as a default image just to see how My World works. Now, you can copy any photo or graphic image file and convert it to the PNG format using, say, an image editing program, or even just iPhoto on the Mac is just fine for that. And you want to rename it to fallingimage.png. And after you've renamed the file to fallingimage.png, you can add it to the project. It's an image of me playing harmonica from a few years ago, which will do nicely. It's also named properly fallingimage.png. And I like to drag rather than choose menus. So I will drag fallingimage.png into the supporting files where I have the other images. Immediately, the Choose Options appears. The Choose Options lets you specify how the files are added to the project. And we want to make sure that Copy Items is selected because we want to copy the file into the Destination Groups folder. We don't care too much about this option because we're not copying a whole folder, but otherwise we would create a group for the new folder if we wanted to. Finally, we have to make sure that it's added to this target, My World, the My World app. And so we click Finish, and there is our falling image in the supporting files folder. If we click on it, we see there it is. So now that we have an image, we are ready to go ahead and run and test this program. We have what we need here, the default image. We have our flip side view. We have our photo flip side view, which also has the same light info button. We have our main view, which has this light info button. And we have our main window, which has a scroll view in the window. So we're ready to go ahead and check it out. If we go up here to the very top of the project navigator and click the very top entry, we'll see a summary of our iOS application target. It's set to iPhone for our device, and the deployment target is set to 4.3, which it should be. We're not completely done with this app because we'll still need an app icon and launch images, but we'll be doing that later. You can see that our scheme is set to the iPhone 4.3 simulator, which is what we want to use. So now we're ready to run the app and test it. So let's click Run. The build is successful, and now the app is running in the iOS simulator. And sure enough, there's our Peace on Earth appearing over the background image, and there's our test banner ad. Let's click the test banner ad, and we can see that the test advertisement is working. And we can close that by clicking the X. So we have our animated falling words on our main view, and let's make sure the main view is working correctly. Let's click the light info button for the flip side view, and let's add, let's say the word again. I happen to like all uppercase for this animation, so we'll use all uppercase. And click the done button. And sure enough, our animation is working with the words Peace on Earth again. So let's see if our gesture from before is still working, our unpinch. We can do that by holding down the Option key and dragging apart. There it is, our flip side view again. Let's see if the speed is working. Let's increase the speed and click Done. Sure enough, the animation is moving faster. And if we go back to the flip side view by clicking the light info button, we see that the speed setting is set to the new speed. Well, it seems like everything's working just fine. Let's see what happens though when we swipe. Do we get a second view, first of all? Is it going to scroll? And is an image going to appear in an animated form? Well, let's start swiping this way. First, you see parts of the new view, but it didn't quite make it all the way because we didn't swipe far enough. Let's do that again. Swiping far enough, we have our image view. And sure enough, there's our default image flowing down the way we animated it. It's appearing a little bit lower than the status bar than the falling words. Now the photo view, of course, also has a light info button so that we can change the image. Let's click it and see if that works. And sure enough, we are in the image picker. Now it just so happens that the iOS simulator doesn't have any photos in its photo library. So we really can't test the image picker. But that's okay, because we know the image picker works. There really is no better way to test an iPhone app than to actually test it on an actual iPhone. We'll be going over that much later when we talk about the development provisioning. Let's see if the cancel button works, however, for the image picker. And it does. And now our animation picks up speed again. Let's swipe back to the main view. No problem. Seems to work just fine. Let's quit the app for a second. And if we double click here, we can see that the app is still in the background. Well, now we should test to see if the My World app settings show up in the Settings app. If we swipe to the right, we'll find the Settings app. We tap the Settings app, and there it is. So our settings, our user preferences, are still being saved right here in the Settings app, where we can lower the speed, change the phrase, let's say back to peace on earth, click Settings, and click Done. And if we go back to the app, and we're back to peace on earth with our test advertisement. Now let's see if our app plays from the background. If we double click, we see there's nothing in the background. If we quit and then double click the home button, we see that My World is in the background. So if we ran another app such as Contacts and then decided to go back to My World by double clicking the home button, we should be able to do it. And there it is, back from the background. So now we have what I think is a very useful Hello World type of app that not only shows text in an animated form, but shows an image in an animated form. It includes a swipe gesture. It even includes an unpinched gesture. It has a flip side view with settings you can change and save. And it even goes and collects an image from the image picker. Pretty good for your first try at creating an iPhone app. But of course, in the real world, not everything goes as planned. Sometimes your software program blows up on you. That's why an essential part of software development is this debugging phase. First, testing in order to tease as many flaws out of your app as possible so that you can find the bugs, and then fixing them. We're going to work through the debugging phase of not only this app, but our iPad version of the app when we get to the debugging tool.